Hi there, I'm Scott, and this is GreatScott Knitting, a vlog podcast thingy. Welcome to episode 36. It is here at the end of February. It is Saturday, February 26th of 2022. I haven't podcasted, I haven't recorded in over a month, so my apologies to you for being negligent in that. The only excuse is I really had very little in the area of knitting to talk about. So, although I gotta say, over the past probably about the past 2 or 3 weeks, every weekend I've sat down and said, "Oh, I'm gonna do a podcast," and then the weekend is over and I don't, and so anyway, here we are at the end of February. Fiberuary, I guess, is another way that we kind of coined a term for this. Oh, by the way, if you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for your support and for coming back and watching again. I love you guys so much. If you are new to this podcast, welcome. I am so thrilled to have you here and that you're watching. Take this opportunity to subscribe to this little channel to help it grow. And if you like the episode, you can click the little thumbs up button at the end. So it has been a month, and over this past month, the weather in Wichita has gone from 70 degrees down to -10 with wind chill, and back. So it has been a sort of a yo-yo of temperatures, and just we've had a couple of snowstorms, which have had some actual accumulation that has stayed on the ground for more than a day, which here in Wichita is a little rare. But I don't know. I'm sort of the oddball out. I like snow. Of course, I don't have to go out in it if I don't want to. So there's that. But I do. I enjoy it when it snows. There's a lot of things I like about it. So the world's crazy, folks. It's just crazy out there. We have countries that are attacking other countries for no good reason. So, be kind to each other out there, because, we're still dealing with COVID. The numbers of infections here in Wichita have gone down dramatically. So we have loosened up our own personal restrictions. I still will wear a mask whenever I go out of this house to be in public, but I'm going out in public now again a little bit. So I have made some trips to the yarn store. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about some finished objects that I have. So I have finished a few objects here towards the end of February. And let's see what else is going on. I've dyed some yarn, so I'll share some of my yarn that I have out in the shop. And I have some works in progress that we'll talk about. And then there's just been lots of things that I've been watching and trying to keep up with entertainment wise. So there's all that to talk about. So let's jump into talking about it, because this is a knitting vlog, all about knitting and dyeing yarn and fibery stuff that I enjoy and I'm into. So here we go. Projects. So last time I podcast, I was working on a project that I couldn't tell you about. But I believe I did show you the yarn. And the yarn was a knit crate yarn, which was in this bright orange, a bright yellow, or a bright yellow green, and a a very light blue. And for this project, I was putting all of these colors together. I know it's crazy. I don't know what I was thinking, but the blue I overdyed into something much darker. Now, my intention for this very light blue color that I was dyeing was to take it into sort of that color of the year, that Pantone color of the year periwinkle. Well, I overshot by quite a bit, and it turned out to be this sort of dark blue, which is really nice. It turned out I mean, it's a really lovely color. So I designed a scarf. And so here is that scarf. So let me just kind of show you. It starts with the bright orange in a cable pattern. It's a 3-stitch slipped stitch cable. And on a background of garter stitch. And then that morphs into a mosaic pattern, which does that blue and orange, and then, or the orange and blue, and then the blue and orange, which then goes to the blue cable pattern. Then we bring in the green cable pattern, then back to the orange, and back around. So there's this scarf that I designed. Oops, wrong way. There we go. Which is really quite fun. It's a lovely pattern. It was a lot of fun to knit this, and maybe at some point soon I started writing it up. There's a lot of work I have to do for this pattern. So I don't know, it would be perfectly fine as simply 2 colors, but I think it's just a lot of fun with 3. They have a great contrast to them. Even the green and orange has a decent contrast to it. Although I have to say, when I was knitting these sections, all I could think of was peas and carrots, because it's kind of how it comes across. But yeah, it was a fun knit. It really was. And it was relatively quick, even though I was sort of designing on the fly for this. This was a challenge for Knittergy, the other YouTube channel project that I am involved with, where every month we challenge ourselves to some kind of knitting and color activity project. And so this was my project that I did in January for the February recording, which just came out. So that's why I can share this with you, is because it came out on that channel. So that I'm calling this the Knittergy Scarf. So it's I don't know, it was a lot of fun to knit, and I'll let you know if I actually publish that pattern out there. It'll probably be on Ravelry. All right, so the next thing, because I was feeling, well, okay, so let me talk about this next project. So I started out the month really strong. I don't know if any of you have heard of it, but on Instagram there is a yearly thing called Fiberuary, and Fiberuary or something like any. It's Fiberuary. Okay. Anyway, so every day there's a sort of a different theme that people post about. And early on, one of the themes was the Olympics. And so I dyed up I called it my Olympic colorway. And it was basically taking the colors from the Olympic flag, which are blue, yellow, black, green, and red on a white background. And so I I dyed up some yarn, and I'll show you that colorway later. And then I had a lot of leftover dye from that I had mixed, so I dyed up another couple of skeins of yarn in a couple of different ways, and I then was feeling like I really wanted to cast something on, because then the next thing was the Olympic cast on. So I cast on a shawl, a small one skein shawl that I did in my leave no dye behind colorway that I created. This shawl is called the Wavelength, or My Wavelength. It's a pattern by Lisa Cook. It is it a free pattern? I don't remember. Let me just look real quick. It is not a free pattern, but it's only about $3, $3 or $4 on Ravelry. So it's a really simple asymmetric shawl. It starts, with just a garter stitch section going into some eyelets, and then just alternates between garter stitch and eyelets all the way through until it finishes off with a picot bind off border. Really quite lovely. And it's just a lot of fun. It's very, very bright. The colorway is very bright, very it just has a lot of fun character to it. Anyway, I really enjoyed knitting this. It was a lot of fun, and it was really good for me to finish a project and to have something that I could say, look, I got something done. Because I have a couple, I have a large work in progress, actually a couple other works in progress. And then I was doing another challenge for Knittergy, which took up a lot of my time. And I will talk about that next month after we air that episode, but because I have a lot to say about it. So that's spoilers, no spoilers. So there we are. So this is the My Wavelength in my Mount Carmel Yarns. The yarn I used was my high twist sock yarn. So this is a fingering weight sock yarn. The high twist is a 2-ply. I don't know if you can see. Probably not. But anyway, it was a lot of fun. It was a nice yarn to work with. It's 80% fine Highland wool, 20% polyamide. So it's not, it's a soft yarn. It's not scratchy or anything like that, but it is not a merino. So there's that. So it was a lot of fun. It was a great fun knit. Very, very bright, very vibrant. And so very welcome during these dull, colorless days of winter here in South Central Kansas. All right. Another finished object was a really kind of a completely unplanned project. A couple of years back, oh my God, it'd be about 4 years back, I designed a shawl that had some cables and lace in it. It's called my Cables and Leaves shawl. And a person who started knitting it messaged me on Ravelry and was asking me about one of the sections. And quite frankly, I hadn't messed with this pattern since I designed it and knit it the first couple of times. So I had to actually go cast it on again to even know what the heck they were talking about. So I did. I cast it on, and my intention was just to take it up through one repeat of the entire pattern, so I knew exactly what was going on and what I might be able to advise for that particular knitter. But I enjoyed the process of re-knitting this and in a sense knitting it as though like it was a new project for me, even though I designed the darn thing. And yes, I did find a mistake in the pattern, which I plan on correcting. And actually, I also changed the ending of it, which I think I'm going to write up this new ending of it as well. So before I show it to you, let me show you the yarn I knit this in. I knit it in a gifted yarn that I got, which is Premier Yarns Deborah Norville collection Wool Naturals, and in this very sort of taupish sand colorway. It is 100% wool, so it's very woolly. It's very because I really wasn't planning on finishing it and going all the way, but I did. It took 2 skeins of this wool, which is it is a medium weight, so it's a 4. It's a worsted weight. Definitely not Aran, so it's not a heavy worsted. So it's a just a a good medium weight yarn. But I wasn't really crazy about the color. And so I decided about midway through that when I was done with the shawl and cast it off, that I would over dye it. And when I over dyed it, I would over dye it as a gradient. And so it is an asymmetric shawl, which starts here at a corner. And as you knit it, you can see the leaf pattern right in here. But as you knit it, you also knit on this border. So as you're going along, you're knitting across, and you're knitting a border onto the shawl as you go. And on this top edge, you can see is the cable. And then you have your lace pattern. Very, very fun. It is very triangular. Where I made a huge change was on the cast off border. So in the original pattern, I just cast it off and allowed the sort of just the nature of the leaves to create a slight scallop to this border. But what I did differently this time is I finished off this final leaf by doing short rows. So I short rowed to a point, and then went on to the next point and so on. So I short rowed all of the points and then came back across and bound off, which makes for a really nice scalloped border that matches kind of the knit on lace border that's over here. So it worked. It actually works better than what I originally had created. So it's a really nice worsted weight shawl in, and the blue colorway, you can see that the way I dip dyed it was I held the cast off border up here, so you can sort of see that it is still has that taupish sand colorway, but the cast on edge is this really deep blue. And because of the natural color there of that yarn, it's only deep blue here, but the rest of it kind of becomes sort of a teal color. Anyway, really enjoyed this project. And once the yarn was over dried, it softened up really quite nicely. So it's not terribly scratchy. It's actually quite pleasant to work with. But yeah, fun little project to work on. So if you're interested, go check out the pattern. I will try to get my corrections and my update to that new border, or the new cast off edge, added in so that you guys could enjoy that as well. But there's that little project that I have finished. 1, 2, 3. Those were my 3 finished objects. So let's talk my works in progress. Technically, I only have 1 work in progress, so that's the only one I'm going to talk about, because the other, I have 2 things that are technically my focus on the needles. One is the Collective Shawl by Locatelli, but I haven't done anything on it in well over a month. So I'm not even going to talk about it. So I am going to talk about the one that I have been working on, which is my Slipstravaganza by Stephen West. And get this kind of opened out a little bit so you can see all of the glory that this is becoming. I am doing the large version, so I am nearing the end, but for those of you who may have knit it, nearing the end is a long ways from being finished. That's one of the things I've learned. It is probably in the realm of Schlanket, the shawl blanket, as a pattern. So if you ever consider knitting it, keep that in mind, that you will be at this project for more than a minute, which is fine. I've been enjoying the heck out of knitting this. There's just a lot of fun to it, and as you see that I'm trying to, how long it's taking me to, it sure did. I am not a pleased person. So what just happened as I was moving stitches around was this handy dandy join right here decided to go boop, and all these stitches from this point right here all the way back to here came off. Did not make me happy, but I got them all back on, and in the meantime super glued that join back together, and the super glue has dried, so we are fine again. So that was exciting. A piece of excitement I'd rather not go through again, but be that as it may. This shawl requires a cable that is clearly huge. Okay. Slipstrap. Back on topic. Back on task. Slipstravaganza. Lovely pattern. So much fun. Starts here with these lovely honeycombs, goes into these, I just loved this part. This was just so much fun. I know it's fiddly and, you know, pick up little stitches here, there, and yonder. Then it goes into this sort of slip stitch pattern. And then I love this next section. This section here is so much fun. In fact, it's the only reason I wanted to knit the whole thing, because I realize for many of you it just looks like diamonds, but I see a Star of David in this pattern. You see it? Can you see the Star of David? That's why I wanted to knit the whole thing. It goes from that into this section here, which I was not, I mean, it is what it is. I'm not that crazy about it. And then there's these chevrons that are happening here on the border. And I could have ended it right here on this level, but I have tons of yarn. I have tons of yarn. So on we go, onwards and upwards. So I'm on the first repeat, or the first color of my last, or I finished the first color of the last section. And so I've got to go through my color B and my color C. And then from what I understand, it's the infamous, will take you for, it'll probably take another month to just do the I-cord bind off. That's going to be the end all of this. And then it'll block, and God knows if I even have enough blocking mats to block this puppy. But there it is in its glory. So much fun. I can't wait to do it. And when it blocks out, it's going to block out bigger than it's appearing right now. But enjoying the crud out of this, except for this moment right here was not fun. But stuff like that happens. And what do? Your option is rip out and start over. Not on this puppy. Picking up all the stitch markers that fell. So you always have the option of ripping out and starting over, or ripping out and not starting over, or figuring out how to make it work. So I picked up stitches, got them back on the needles, fixed the join with a little super glue, and now we're back in business. Whew. Okay, that was fun. I would not recommend that as an adventure for the future. So that is my work, singular, in progress. So let's move on and chit chat a little bit about acquisitions, which there have been several acquisitions of various kinds and types. Where shall I start? I will start with my Trilogy Yarns Broadway Musical Monthly Club that I am a member of. Nancy over at Trilogy Yarns is an amazing dyer. Let me just put it that way. She is an amazing dyer. I absolutely love her colorways. Now, last month I had my first ever Trilogy Yarn purchase, which was the first month that I got of the Broadway Musical Club, Monthly Club, which was West Side Story. I had to look at the yarn, which was West Side Story, which was really quite lovely. This month was another one of my absolute favorite musicals, which is Miss Saigon. I remember seeing this when it was on Broadway. I didn't see it on Broadway. I saw I saw it on tour when it was traveling on tour, but really loved it. It was really good. And so the yarn that she dyed up is here. Really beautiful. This is on her plush base, which is 80% merino, 10% cashmere, 10% nylon. So it's her merino cashmere nylon base. But as you can see, it has this lovely brown, reddish brown, and some yellows and some black going on. A really, really fun color. So this will be fun, and it'll be. I'm intrigued by the technique, which appears to be heavy speckles, or at least simply the application of dry dye powder to the wet yarn, and then just kind of let to set with just that. So, which makes it really quite easy, I would think, for large batches of this to be produced in a relatively quick manner. So there it is, Trilogy Yarns. There's her lovely logo. Oh, there it is. And this is the plush base. Again, that MCN. So in addition to the poster, which we get this version of the poster, she always includes a little sampler of some eucalyptus for washing purposes, and then also a little extra something. And in this case, it was the Holiday Jubilee Pink, Amber, and Vanilla Hand and Body Moisturizer. There it is. So very fun, lovely stuff. So that's one acquisition. I will put a link to her Broadway monthly Broadway, or her Broadway Musicals Monthly Club in the show notes down below. So please do check out her shop. She has many other monthly clubs, as well as some lovely ready to ship yarns as well. So some really great things to check out on her shop, which I highly recommend. Okay, okay, let's talk about last weekend. I went to our local yarn shop, which is the Creation Station. That is in Newton, Kansas. So if you're ever in the neighborhood, come check it out. And I made some purchases there, as I like to do. I like to support my local yarn shop. I did kind of fall in love with this yarn company. It's the Araucania Yarns, and it's the Huasco sock base, which is a basic 75-25 merino. I think it's polyamide. Yes. So merino polyamide, and this is the colorway called Loco Toucan. So the crazy toucan, Loco Toucan, which is yellow and blue speckles with some yellow and blue, bright blue and navy blue. So there's a bright blue, and then there's a sort of a more navy blue stripe. So very fun, very festive. It'll be an interesting, I'll call it a repeating colorway. So it's probably going to pool and flash if I were to knit a pair of socks with this, which is probably what I will knit with this. Although my sock kick has kind of slowed down, but I will probably knit a pair of socks with these in time. Oh boy, I just really jacked up that ball band. There we go. Huasco sock. So lovely. I usually pick up something like that. And then I did a little set of yarns, which I like to do. This is the Heritage Silk from Cascade Yarns. Inexpensive and really quite nice. This is an 85% superwash merino wool, 15% mulberry silk. This is what is this called? I don't remember. I don't remember what this light blue is called, but it's really pretty. And then of course this this medium gray that goes with it. And these are being paired with a Heritage Silk paint colorway, again in the 8515. And this, it has just these lovely pastel greens and yellows and blues and purples. And I just think this lighter colored blue and gray will go just so lovely with this in some project that is yet to be determined. So I will eventually determine what that project will be, but don't know what that is today. But I like the Heritage Silk base. It has a lovely feel to it, and it has a lovely sheen to it as well. So those will be a project. So that's the yarn. So what else have I picked up? I picked up a set. Well, and they're not a set. I picked up several straight needles as a replacement for some straight needles that I've had for a long time, and some of them have just gotten lost, especially the ones that I use a lot, which are the US 8s, which I think are let's see, 5 millimeter. Yeah, I think it's 5 millimeter. So these are oh dang it. I can't remember the manufacturer, but anyway, there they are. So I got some from a US 6 up through a US 10 of those. Because occasionally I like to knit on straight needles. Not often. Often I will do... I definitely will do things like some simple scarves or like washcloths and things like that on straight needles like that. So I have I have those that I picked up from, I believe it was from Webs. I picked up a handy dandy little tool called the Color Grid, which is a tool for to choose colors with confidence. It was designed by Gail Callahan, and here it is. And the concept behind it is you have this card, which has a set of holes in it and a line, and you line that up on this color grid. And so you line up this center color, or this center circle, this one right here, on a color that you like. Let's say this sort of purple color. And what it will do is it will then show you the colors that are sort of in its realm, as well as its direct contrast. which is fun to do. So that it's basically to help make color choices, and you could really use it in different ways as well. So you could do it here. So like if you had that yellow, then you would get some of these more muted browns, yellows, and greens as contrasts to all of those yellows to orangey. So very fun, very interesting. I did this to kind of help me choose colors for knitting projects, as well as choose colors to throw onto yarn, just to give me a little bit more inspiration and limitation. Because one of the things I'm really experiencing this year is what happens when you have the opportunity to do a project or to create something, and there are no rules or no boundaries set for what you can do. And what I have found is that when you have all the choices in the world that you could do, you get into analysis paralysis, or you just simply don't know where to go, where to start. So what I'm finding is that if you are given some strict parameters to follow, that it gives you a direction to move in, and sometimes that opportunity to break those rules to some extent. So I don't know if that makes any sense, but it's basically, I think what I'm learning about myself is that my own creativity blossoms more when I have boundaries that have been set as to what I can and cannot do. So when it comes to putting color on yarn, I have tons of dye powders and tons of opportunity and choices to make. So it's hard to make the choices. So it's nice to have something come along like this color grade concept that says, here are your limitations. You can only choose these colors. What do you want to do with that? So that gives me a little more, helps me make choices so that I can then move forward with whatever my project is. Same thing with picking colors for a project. It helps me make some of those choices to move forward with. So there's that little tool to help me in that color selection world. One of the things, as I talk to you without actually being up here, so one of the things I wanted to do this year was explore color work, and so I picked up the this book called The Colorwork Bible by Jesse Ostermiller. I perused it. I haven't really delved deep into it, but it does talk about several different colorwork techniques, such as stripes, stranded, slip stitch and mosaic, intarsia, double knitting, and brioche. Although there is an aspect of brioche, not necessarily, it can be color work when you're using two color brioche. But is it really color work? That's a good question. And some people, I've talked to several people that say, yes, it most definitely is color work, and other people that say, no, you can do brioche without having multiple colors. And so it is sort of one of those crossover techniques and stitch techniques that you can use that could either be color work or not color work. So anyway, interesting book that I'm exploring to start to prepare myself to do more color work in my knitting. Those that the book. Yeah, I think that's it in terms of recent acquisitions. Although I don't remember if I had mentioned it in the past, in the last episode, so I'll bring it up again. I have picked up the second edition of Barbara Walker's Treasury of Knitting Patterns. Because you can never have too many knitting patterns to choose from, especially if you are a dabbler in design like I am, and that is all I am. I am not a designer. I have definitely come to that conclusion. But I do enjoy to dabble in design on occasion, as you can tell from this shawl here. So, what's next? Shop update. Hey, let's talk about the shop. What's in the shop? So let's talk a little bit about the shop update. So we're talking about Carmel Yarns, of which that is my moniker for my dyeing escapades. So last month I threw some various colorways out on the shop, and let me just share those with you again. So we have Tikkun Olam, which is this bright blue and forest green, where they sort of fade into each other. There's OOAK, which is torch, which is this very deep purple that fades into the yellows and white. There is Flint Hills, which is this brownish and yellow, lovely shades. There's Tzedek, Justice, which is this deeper browns and golds. And then I have a Beloved, which is a this one was actually a mistake batch of my Beloved colorway, which is blues and purples and grays. And this one just got way too dark, too deep, but it's still lovely. And then, of course, my Chesed gradient color, which goes from this deep pink through a very light pink, is as a gradient colorway. And then I still have some standard Beloved, so you can really see the difference between those two colorways. I still have a couple of skeins of Techelet Blue and a couple of skeins of the Prairie Autumn. So you can check those out. So two new colorways that I have in the shop are my Olympic colorway, which I am calling Faster, Higher, Stronger, More Fun at Parties. Yes, that is its official name. So my Faster, Higher, Stronger. Again, you can see the blue, the yellow, the black. There's the black. The green is in there, as well as the red. So, and then, of course, you can see lots of white still within this skein of yarn as well. So this is on my merino fingering. This is not a sock yarn. This is just 100% merino, superwash merino wool. And this is a fingering weight. So this would be really great for, a shawl similar to the My Wavelength, or there's lots of other one skein wonders out there. Or it could be easily paired with a black that would, or any of these colors, or a gray neutral to highlight this color in another project. So there's Faster, Higher, Stronger. And then I have, I think this one I'm calling Winter Cheer. and this is on my DK base. It is a muted colorway, but oddly enough, the exact same colors. Again, this was sort of a leave no dye behind. That's why it's sort of a one of a kind. It's a leave no dye behind colorway, which has the reds and the blues and the greens and some yellows that pop out, all muted with an overlay of black. So I'm calling this one Winter Cheer because it's muted, but it has some it's just very cheery, and so I don't know, I like it. It's a lot of fun. It's definitely a non-repeating variegated colorway to play with. I have this on DK, which is 100% a 100% DK weight, or 100% superwash merino, in that light worsted. And then also on my DK weight is just a one of a kind batch yarn in just these sort of gold and brown tones. Have some purple that pops into it as well. You can kind of see some purplish reds that are popping in. So just a very fun colorway. I don't have a name for it. And if you want to name it, you certainly can. But it's going to be out there in the shop as well. It's just a one of a kind batch, because I have no idea how I did it. I just threw some leftover dyes on some yarn just to use up some dye. But it's just a lovely, I mean, it's just going to be, I just know it's going to knit up so pretty. So those are my shop updates. So be sure to head over to Mount Carmel Yarns on Etsy. I am getting ready to change some bases because I'm changing suppliers. So if you grew to absolutely love the yarns that I had before, know that I'm changing my base on all of my yarns. So I'm hoping that you will still enjoy the feel. It will be still some most of it's merino base. I'm going to bring in a merino cashmere nylon base, so an MCN. And I'm also going to I'm going to test out doing some worsted weight yarn. And I also am going to have a limited run on another base. And let me just show it to you. A limited run on this base. This is a 100% Peruvian Highland wool. It's in a sport weight, but you can see, and let me just kind of pop this out. You can see that it's sort of a chain spun as opposed to just a regular twist. So I'm going to have a limited run of dyeing with this yarn. Mainly because I had an opportunity to pick some up that I wanted to play with dyeing with this type of twist, but I don't know how I'm going. If this is like something that you really like, I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to would find this again, but I will certainly try if I find that people will like it. I'm really, even though it's called, you can see how fluffy it is, how poofy the skein is for being a sport weight yarn. It almost puffs out like a worsted weight or even bulky, but it is listed as a sport weight, so it's less than a little bit heavier than fingering weight, but less than DK. So that will be coming. So that's gonna be fun. So cool. That's all the Fiberuary goodness that I have for this episode. Some of the other things I've been up to. I've been watching quite a bit of stuff on television as I've been knitting on some of my stuff. I finished up the Book of Boba Fett on Disney Plus. I really enjoyed how that came to a close. And the way it did come to a close is it is really set up. It really set up for the next season of The Mandalorian. So I know that will be coming at some point this year. So that there is that. And it is also basically set for another season of the Book of Boba Fett. Really enjoyed it. I don't know, and this has become an absolute obsession of mine. I got to tell you, and I don't know if I talked about it last month because I don't remember exactly when we watched it. But my husband and I watched the 60th Disney animated film called Encanto. Let me tell you this right now. If you have not watched it, I don't care how you figure out how to. If you go buy it, if you download it, if you stream it, I don't care how you figure out how to watch it. And if you have watched it, comment below what you thought about Encanto by Disney. It is a lovely animated film set in the country of Colombia. So it is about the family Madrigal in this fictional land in Colombia and they have special gifts that they have been granted. I will tell no more about the story just in case some of you have not watched it yet. The music is absolutely, I don't know. I don't know how to describe the music other than it is absolutely amazing. It is wonderful music. Many of the songs, the songs were written by Lin-Manuel Miranda of Hamilton fame from Broadway. They are catchy. They will stick in your mind and in your ear, and you will be humming and singing them probably for the rest of your life. They are really, quite frankly, that good. The storyline is about this family and about or multi-generational families and multi-generational trauma within a family, and how that can be worked out. So it definitely a watch, definitely a listen to the music. I'm still listening to the music almost on a daily basis because it has captured me in that way. So run, don't walk to watch Encanto. And if you have seen it, just watch it again. Why not? It's one of those that I don't think I will ever tire of. What else have I been watching? My husband and I have been watching The Gilded Age with Christine Baranski. And it is set in the late 19th century New York. So around 1880 is when or 1882, I believe, is when it is set. It focuses on the upper class, the aristocracy of New York, the old money versus the new money, and the how societies how these two societies, which are on the upper echelon of society, kind of battled each other in New York. It is a fiction, but many of the storylines and many of the characters are based on real people from that period of time. So the sets are amazing. The costuming is gorgeous. It really does center primarily around the women of that period, and so the dresses are just stunning. It's worth watching it just for that and for the set design. They're amazing. In addition to watching The Gilded Age, I am rewatching Doctor Who, and I am in the midst of the 11th Doctor, who was played by Matt Smith. So I am re-enjoying those storylines. Many of those I have seen before, so I'm enjoying them again. Which is leading me then into the seasons of the Peter Capaldi 12th Doctor, which I really never watched. So I never really watched the 12th Doctor, and I haven't had the opportunity to watch the 13th Doctor with Jodie Whittaker, who is coming to a close with her tenure as the Doctor. And so it will be interesting to see who the 14th Doctor will be. There have been some rumors, completely unsubstantiated, that we will see David Tennant return, but not as the 10th Doctor, but return as the 14th Doctor, which would be truly interesting. And I would. Part of me wants to see that, but part of me also wants to see a person of color come into that role, or finally a ginger. I think it's going to be time soon for a ginger to play the Doctor, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes. We'll see who becomes the 14th Doctor in Doctor Who. Yes, I'm geeking out. I know. I'm sorry. That's just where it is. Yeah. Anyway, it has been a bit because it has been over a month since I podcast, so this one is a little bit longer than normal. So I apologize for that. But we have come to the end of another episode. I will try. I will make no promises, but I will definitely try to have another episode in 2 weeks, which would put us into the March world. So be sure to check out all the other activities that are on this channel. There is some dyeing videos, which I haven't done a lot of dyeing videos. Didn't do any last year, and so I might try and throw some of those in the coming months. Also, you can check out my Facebook page, which is GreatScott Knitting. Check me out on Instagram as GreatScott Knitting as well. On Ravelry, I am GreatScott Knits, and I will also have all of my Mount Carmel Yarns links down below as well. So thank you all so much for joining me today, whichever day it is. And I hope you're having a lovely day and continue to have a lovely couple of weeks before we meet again. So may you have peace in your home and the fullness of joy for all who dwell there. Bye.